The Mom View is sponsored by the Herzog Foundation, and this is going to be a great show. In January 2025, Congress attempted to pass H.R. 21, known as the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, a bill President Trump supports. It would save the lives of abortion survivors. Yes, they do exist. Today on the Mom View, we'll hear the story of one of those survivors. Plus, pro-life advocate Abby Johnson weighs in on important issues in the debate over life. Welcome to the Mom View, and welcome, ladies, back on the set. Allie, Debbie, and Jillian. We are talking today about two words that apparently are never allowed to be combined together, and that is abortion survivor.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a heavy subject, isn't it?
Yeah. So this was like totally new to me. You don't really think about that. There's all kinds, sides of abortion and facets involved in it. But I met this woman, I guess it was about 5 years ago, and she spoke at an event, and she was introduced as an abortion survivor. And I remember going,
what?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, right.
And then since then, she has a whole website where she talks about people walking around today. Sometimes, get this, okay? Really think about what I'm about to say. Walking around without legs or arms.
Their limbs, yeah.
But they survived an abortion.
Yeah, no one's talking about this.
Yeah,
No one's talking about
it's
this.
a really, really tough subject. But I think we need to start telling people what this really means, because there are abortion survivors. And one of the things that a lot of lawmakers are trying to do is allow the death, kill the baby after the baby is born. It doesn't matter, don't provide life-affirming care.
Right.
And that's what this bill would do. This year, Congress the House put it forth and it got stuck. The House wouldn't let it go through to the Senate because they knew there were enough votes in the Senate to pass it. Now really think about that. Yeah. They don't want to preserve the life and provide life-affirming care to these babies.
And it's kind of one of those things that, a lot of people don't understand what abortion entails until they're fully explained or they see a video. Well, I've seen a number of doctors say, I will suffocate the baby that survives.
Wow.
Well, they suffocate it. I mean, I'm sure there's other means to end that life, but that's one way of doing it. And it is so inhumane, so disgusting. You hear that baby cry, and it's end of life.
You know the story of Jill Stanek in Illinois.
Yeah.
She, an RN nurse, went in for her evening, OBGYN, delivering the babies, and a baby survived an abortion. And they put that baby in the soiled utility room to die. And she said, I'm not doing that. And she exposed it. She took that baby and she held him for 45 minutes while he lived. But that is what, they're even putting nurses and doctors in this position to end life, either at a botched abortion, or born alive abortion. I mean, someone has to address the baby. The baby is still there. And that's obviously today's program. And what do we do about life and preserving life, even in an emergency where there is an abortion? I mean, look at Melissa's story.
The fact that you say those two words, it causes you to just pause for a moment and really realize what it means. And the push that they're doing to make sure that these babies don't live,
Don't survive, right.
and that the mothers are convinced that it's not a baby. And what's the difference? There was a woman, a young girl, actually. She was 15 years old. Her parents had no idea. This happened in Omaha, Nebraska a few years ago. The parents had no idea she was pregnant. She just, wore bigger clothes and kind of hid it. And then one day she gave birth to the baby.
No.
And she's having this baby, holding this baby. What am I going to do with it? She panics. She throws the baby out the window.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. Now, think about this, because when this hit the news, do you know what everybody said? Why didn't she just go to Planned Parenthood?
Oh, Lord.
That was the answer to this, the difference, the only difference between doing your right to choose and going to prison was Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, I've seen similar stories where they get prosecuted for murdering
Yeah.
children, but had it been 10 minutes earlier,
Right.
it didn't matter. I had something to say on this. This is something that I think should motivate people if they want to be active. This is a choice. We have women legislators now, and someone who I think is so horrific in this fight, which is such a shame, is a mother named Brittany Peterson, a legislator from Colorado, who constantly is bringing her baby to the House floor, saying, "Look at me, I'm a working mother." She's one of these people with egregious voting records, and I pray for her, and I say, "You fight for all babies, not just yours. Fight for all babies," because she's voted time and again against life-saving care.
I'd like to see her bring that baby in when she votes against
That's
life.
exactly what I've called her to do.
But the thing is they will. Because they're
That's
just
despicable.
They're just
like what babies of more importance?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how much did God love these children to say, "Hey, I spared your life," showing parents, "Hey, I spared their life. Now what?" And for them to give them a second chance and to still blow it, for lack of a better word.
That's actually the good part of this story, is that they did get to go on, they did get to live. And when you see their lives, you start to realize, what does it mean? What happens? And I asked my youngest daughter this. I said, what happens when you do nothing when a woman's pregnant? What do you mean? If you do absolutely nothing to stop that, what happens? Well, you have a baby.
Okay, then.
Right.
that is the end result.
They have
you
just
literally
as much
have to stop
value
it.
as the baby's a result of rape. You know what I mean? And it's like those kind of testimonies that really give life to the failures of the arguments of the left.
This is going to be a good show. Yeah. Coming up, you'll hear the miraculous story of a woman who survived her mother's attempt to abort her. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Josh Mann, managing editor of The Lion. The Lion is an initiative of the Herzog Foundation, and we publish articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. In covering these topics, we also touch on aspects of parenting, family life, faith, government, and other relevant cultural topics. We publish news stories every day, aiming to produce timely, critical, must-read news articles and resources for families, educators, and leaders. Read the latest in education and cultural news at readlion.com. We also offer easy-to-digest daily and weekly email newsletters. Subscribe today at readlion.com/subscribe.
Welcome back to the Mom View. In 1977, a pregnant 19-year-old student faced enormous pressure from her mother to terminate her pregnancy. She went ahead with what was called a saline abortion and was told it was successful, meaning that her baby had died. The baby, Melissa Ohden, survived that terrible ordeal and joins us on the Mom View to tell her story. You are a walking miracle, ma'am.
Yeah.
I wish that's how the whole world turned to me, but I'll take that today. Thank you.
It's so good to have you on the show. So I've been able to read a little bit about your story, but just, tell us, you did not know that you had been born from an abortion. You had been adopted. And so when you found out, how did you find out about the whole story?
Yeah, it's very shocking, right, for anybody. Most people in our world don't know that abortions fail and that babies survive those procedures. So even when I say I'm an abortion survivor, people kind of go,
what?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
They start to go, you're the woman who had an abortion and you survived it. And I have to go, no, I'm actually the baby. So I think we just start there, right, to say most people don't know that this happens. There was even a study that came out recently showing that about 1 in 19 women who take the abortion pill undergo a second abortion attempt within 45 days, right? So I preface that to say, this happened to me. It happens thousands of times a year. It's still happening today. And so people shouldn't be shocked by it, but they are. And so, I didn't know my story growing up. I always knew I was adopted. And I found out very accidentally at the age of 14. Every survivor that we serve at the Abortion Survivors Network finds out in a sort of different way and in a different time. And I think, a lot of parents struggle with
How do you say that?
Right.
Right.
And,
Right?
and should you?
Right.
And when? And how do you know it's appropriate? And so that's part of what we do.
I could
And
see
what
that.
therapy do you need after?
Correct. Therapy before, therapy during, and therapy after.
Right.
And, so my parents, right, just had those struggles of how would we tell her and what do we tell her and when would we know? And so, I found out accidentally through my own older sister's unplanned pregnancy when I was 14. And, in the midst of it, of course, everybody wishes I could have found out in a different way that probably wasn't so hard. But I see God's handprints on it all, because that unplanned pregnancy may have been a mistake in some people's eyes, but it never was. And God used it for such good, for me to ultimately find out my story, which then has allowed me to share this story with the world. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. Look at this wonderful attitude.
Yeah.
Because you could become a victim, right? And you could never recover. But your story is so inspiring because you and yourself have chosen to live. You know,
God
the
chose
life that God gave you.
Yeah, God gave me
You
this
embraced the
incredible
life. Yeah.
And it's hard, though. I mean, I think we all go through these processes, no matter what it is we've gone through in our life, where we, question God, right? How is this the plan? Or where are you? And I think what I've come to appreciate so much is that God's plans usually don't look the way we expect them to, but they're always so much greater, aren't they? I mean, if you would have told me when I was 14, hey, right now you feel like you just got the wind knocked out of you and you, are struggling with your identity and feeling unloved and unworthy, right? And you know what our world says about abortion. And so it's going to deeply pain you for a number of years and you're going to walk out a path that you find shameful. But that ultimately, if you would have said God is going to heal you and allow you to find your voice and do good with it, I wouldn't have believed that.
No.
Yeah.
It's hard to see in the moment.
You had to go through that whole journey. So tell us what happened. So the abortion was planned with your mother. Then it was obviously failed. But there's the story is very interesting, and then how the nurse and just the whole thing happened.
It's like a Lifetime movie, right? The Lifetime movie that Lifetime wouldn't write.
Lifetime.
Do we have a conservative version of Lifetime? Like,
TVN, where are you?
yes, exactly. That should be a thing, because this would be one of the stories.
It surely would.
Yeah, the short version would be, I now know my birth mother was 19, a college student, engaged to my birth father. They had dated all throughout high school into college. And, sadly, like so many women still in our world, when her family found out that she was experiencing this unplanned pregnancy with me out of wedlock, they are the people who forced her to have the abortion.
Which would have been your grandmother.
Yes, it was my birth mother's mom. And, the Lifetime movie kind of storyline is that my grandmother was a prominent nurse in their community, oversaw the education and supervision of nurses, and so was able to force my birth mother into this hospital for a late-term abortion and monitored it, right? She came face to face with me over these 5 days. Wow. Ultimately, we know through my medical records, my birth mother, Ruth's abortion took place for over 5 days. It should have only lasted about 3.
Oh my goodness.
When that procedure was performed, the child, if they were fortunate, their life was ended within about the first 24 hours, being poisoned and scalded by this toxic salt solution. And then the rest of the time was spent inducing labor. So when you were talking about born alive infants, this is exactly what people are talking about. Now, in today's world, it looks a little bit different because of abortion pills failing and pregnancy continuing. I'm a walking encyclopedia on how this happens. We could talk about this forever. But in my circumstances, they injected that toxic salt solution and they tried for 5 days to induce my birth mother's labor. And, thinking about that, I've told our story thousands of times, and it always hurts me.
Yeah.
And not to just think about my vulnerable little self, but to think about Ruth and the amount of physical and emotional, mental, spiritual pain she was going through. And, I now know that because it was taking so long, they actually thought Ruth was going to lose her life in that abortion. Oh, wow. And that's one of those dirty secrets about abortion still in our culture.
Talks about.
Right? That not only does it take the life of the vulnerable infant most of the time, it also endangers the life of the woman.
Sure.
Yet somehow some of this warped media, they'll be like, see, this is why we need more abortions, because the mother died.
Doesn't make any sense.
Because you limited it. You limited her access, and they spin it.
Right, exactly.
So every time it does happen, it's exploited for the wrong purpose.
Absolutely. Well, and folks look at stories like mine, and I mean, trust me, people say a lot of really crazy things to me. But one of them is, well, you know, the fact that you survived, doesn't that just tell you that infants are provided medical care after abortion, and this isn't a problem?
Well, tell us the story when that happened. So you survived.
Yeah, how did you survive?
Well, there's a few reasons why we think it happened. I mean, first of all, it is a miracle, right? That is the grace of God. But in reality, we know through my medical records, the abortionist did not provide any kind of adequate exam. Spoiler alert, they don't do a lot of that. And so the abortionist wrote on my medical records, he thought Ruth was probably 18 to 20 weeks pregnant with me. But again, think about it in today's world. Women are taking abortion pills at home. They don't know how far along they are.
Right.
So these abortions are being performed probably much later gestationally. And so there's a greater likelihood of the child surviving. And so that's probably what happened in my case. The fact that
farther along your baby.
Correct. I weighed almost 3 pounds when they rushed me to the NICU. I was 2 pounds, 14 ounces. Wow. And so a neonatologist remarked in my records, he thought I was probably about 31 weeks.
Right.
Wow.
So this is how late-term abortions also happen, right? Women don't know how far along they are. And so abortions are being performed not knowing how far along a woman is.
It's dangerous.
So the fact that you were even rushed to the NICU is kind of a miracle.
Right.
because
It is a miracle. And it isn't a sign that everybody saw my humanity and went, hooray, this baby survived their abortion. No. You know, there's a reason why abortionists call people like me the dreaded complication.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have to tell you that when I met you, it was a Phyllis Schlafly Eagles event in Missouri. And when you got up and they said you were an abortion survivor, I remember going, what? And I'm like, wow, she must be like a unicorn or an anomaly. And then they said that you were with Abortion Survivors Network. And I'm like, wait a minute, network, what?
Other people.
And that's when I went home, I went on your website. And the stories on there, and the incredible people, the man without the legs, and he's telling his story about, and he's just so courageous, and they're not afraid to hide, and that's the thing that I want to see. I'm sure you probably already have done a parade through Congress, the halls of Congress, and I think we should probably do that a lot. I am disgusted, beyond disgusted, that they could not get themselves to a point where they could send this bill to the Senate to make sure that children who survive abortion do get the care that they need. It is unfathomable to me that this was a complication they couldn't overcome.
Yeah, and we were there that day when they were voting. I was there. We had survivors in the galley. We met with Speaker Johnson and Steve Scalise and Whip Emmer, right? There are so many champions in Congress, but at the same time, you guys probably saw what I did on social media in January. I mean, I'll give you a clean version. There were a couple senators who literally said about the Born Alive vote, crap that isn't real. That's the sanitary version.
Oh.
So
Was that
so
a question?
disrespectful. Oh no, that's what they were. Yeah, right.
That was a statement.
That was a statement that doesn't happen, and so therefore we don't exist, and we aren't unicorns, but we are liars. We are these figments of the Republican machine made to restrict women's reproductive rights. Right, you name it. So we are dehumanized.
Well, they want to see your medical records to prove that you.
But then when we show them their
They don't
medical
believe-
records, they still say, "Oh, that she must be lying."
A Republican-controlled Senate.
Right.
Understand
Exactly.
that.
Right.
But this is also a point to, it puts the point to where we the people need to be the sharpest tip of the spear in the circle of our influence. We have to make sure that we are calling our representatives, all of them, because they all represent us, regardless of what district they are in. We put them there for a purpose. And if we are not actively wielding our political pressure and our power at the appropriate political pressure points, this is what happens.
But to that same point, we understand that we rolled back Roe v. Wade to put put pressure on the states.
Right.
Yes.
So I think sometimes people are looking at the wrong entity now.
Agreed.
You want to say, hey, Donald Trump, all this stuff. Well, it doesn't
He
all
can't do it
happen
by
there.
himself.
You have to actually look at the states now. So
Yes.
what are your state representatives doing? What are your
Exactly.
state senators doing?
need to build
What is
those
your governor
relationships.
doing? And you need to actually pressure them because it's on their
1000%.
hands now.
And I think the other thing too, this nurse that intervened, just like my friend Jill Stanek who intervened, these are heroes.
Amen.
Because they're in the medical industry, forced to participate, and they're not standing on the sidelines, and they are being vocal and they are speaking up.
Well, and think about this. I always remind people whenever they are dehumanizing and dismissing an abortion survivor, they are dismissing the woman who went through that abortion that didn't go the way she planned. They're dismissing the voices and the experiences of the Jills, right? The nurses who are involved, the former clinic workers like Abby, right? And the folks that, and then there were none, right? So they're dismissing and attempting to silence and shame so many people who know inherently what abortion is and what it does. And so, yeah, to kind of close the loop on what happened to me, here I am, delivered alive in the final step of the abortion procedure. And I now know that I was initially laid aside. Unfortunately, I know at that hospital, babies like me who survived were typically put in a utility closet in a bucket of formaldehyde.
Oh my
And
gosh.
right and people should be shocked and disgusted by this and then take action related to it. But when people hear that, they'll go, oh, that doesn't happen. Tell that to the nurses who did it and have come to me apologizing for what they did.
Right.
Right.
It's like people don't want to know.
Right.
And you can't
Ignorance
possibly
is bliss.
imagine. Even my daughter, I had a conversation with her about this, and it was when New York had celebrated with the pink lights and about killing babies after they're born. And she came in and because I'd posted on Facebook, and she's like, Mom, stop posting on my Facebook. And I was like, Amber, unfriend me. And she was like, I can't unfriend my mom. And it opened up a conversation because she was convinced that's not what that means. That's not really what that means. And I'm like, so I started from the beginning. And that's when we had that conversation. What happens if you do nothing? Well, the baby's born. Okay, so if it's only on those rare occasions where it's rape or incest and with prayer and God, they decided that was the best thing to do. If that's all, because that's what they're looking at, the least common denominator. And they don't want to fathom that any of the other stuff is real. They don't want to know. And too many men out there for two reasons. One, this is free sex for them and they don't have any responsibility, okay? We'll just call it what it is. But two, they don't want to stand up to a woman and say, you don't have a right to choose. So their messaging has been very effective from the feminist, and I'll call them what they are, feminazis, Marxist, communists. That's what they are. This is a Marxist communist movement. And
That
the
really want those 9-to-5s.
Yeah.
Put them in an office building, baby. They're ready to work.
Yeah, but the women need to stand up. That's us. We have allowed them to take our power away, and we need to stand back up and we need to say, no, we are the most powerful entity in this world, and we have the ability to turn this. So do not believe the feminists that are telling you that this is your right to choose, because all it's doing is helping the men to be able to have their free sex, and we need to stand up for those men who are too, I wouldn't say cowardly, that's not fair, but just don't have the gumption or the backbone to stand up against one of those women. Fine. We need to stand in between them and say, no, this is not okay. We want our power back. And we want our little girls and our little boys to have life just like you got to.
I mean, it's such a breakdown of the family. We have more than 18 million fatherless children in America.
Yeah.
And if you look back to the root cause of a lot of things, it would be rape, abortion, crime, you can go on and on. It all kind of leads back there. We've broken down the family unit. We've removed God from our homes. We remove truth even from our pulpits. We remove God and the Ten Commandments from our education, while also infiltrating them with this demonic culture. And look at the result we have. We're promoting the ungodly and removing the moral code in which we're based on. Our whole purpose is based on. And what is an amazing thing about God and myself, where I was never a pro-abortion person, but I was like a bought and sold that lie that you needed to be, to be accomplished. You had to be accomplished in the workforce. And, God revealed to me, honey, this isn't about you during my first pregnancy. This is my child that I'm calling
That
you
must
to
be
raise.
shocking. This isn't
And
about
I
you.
just immediately stopped crying, and I was like, okay, this is an assignment. And it was the toughest assignment, and it still is. But then God shows you why you were made as women.
Yes.
The purpose in that, why you were designed the way that you were designed, from every single part of it, right? From the moment you're pregnant and then taking care of this kid, how uniquely he made your brain and your body. And this is your purpose. And this is where you find meaning, bringing purpose to his children. And what an amazing thing. I just bought and sold this lie. I bought onto it, and it was just so terrible. And then so many times, even during all my pregnancies, have I wept for God, thinking, how many children do you lose? Wow. And I just found my weeping to God. I'm so sorry.
It's
Melissa,
true.
I'm so sorry.
I want Melissa to tell the other question that I have, even just talking
Only
about
just
this.
one question?
No, we got one, well, we've only got a few minutes left here. But how did you decide to share it? Because even when you just started sharing your story, it hurts every time you said that. But now you go all across the country. You feel a calling on your life to share your story and fight, because some don't do that.
Right, and most survivors will, first of all, I'd say most survivors probably don't know that they're a survivor, right? They're raised in their biological family, by and large, is what we find in our population of survivors. But yes, then they could be adopted, and also families don't know how to talk about it. So I would say, first of all, most survivors don't know. Also, they need to go through healing, which is what we offer at the Abortion Survivors Network. They need to find community. We also offer that. We also offer community for women whose abortions fail. Wow. We are the only organization who offers that in our culture, because there's something really powerful that happens when you know you're not alone, right? Yeah. And so I want women to know that they aren't alone, and they can talk to other women and walk through it together. And so, right, survivors don't often share their story, but we've put more out there with our stories than anybody has ever seen in our culture. And I am excited every time we do it. And so what led me really, it was God alone, because I felt that stirring my soul when I first learned my story. And I knew that somehow God was calling me to do something with it, but it really took me accepting his will over the years and thinking, you know what, Lord, like, this is going to be hard. People don't want to hear from me. I'm a people pleaser. Don't rock the boat. God made me a rock the boat, and I never knew it. And I am so happy, right? Like, thank the Lord, literally. I am so grateful that he made me this way, because I can't imagine doing anything else with my life except serving him and being whom he created me to be.
You sure did.
I have to confess that until we were doing this show, I did not know that there was a bill put forth beginning of this year. And one of the things about Moms for America that's such a blessing is the network that we have. And I would just like to tell you that Moms for America has an army of moms.
Yes, we do.
And we would make the phone calls, and but we need to know when these opportunities come forth. So if you're putting it forth again, or if you're doing it in the States, please let us know. And we will mobilize that army, because that is a voice that is powerful, and we want to be able to move the needle on this.
We're happy to.
Yeah.
And I would love to march with you to every single person.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Bring Careless with me, baby.
Who do you want to meet? Let's go.
Yeah, we feel a DC fly-in.
Absolutely. I'm ready. Let's
We're
get
ready.
it.
After the break, pro-life advocate Abby Johnson will talk about how witnessing an abortion with her own eyes transformed her life. We'll be right back.
America is under attack. Our families are being crushed under the politics of a radical agenda. But moms have had enough. We are standing up, and we are fighting back.
This is our battle. This battle is every bit as important as the Revolutionary War, because we fight for the same thing.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
I think Moms for America is exactly on track and is doing the right thing for the future of our country and our children.
Like, Moms for America is going at the heart of the issue.
I want to go on the record and say I'm for moms, I'm for America, and I'm especially for Moms for America.
But I am honored to join Moms for America today as we speak out against the horrific mandates.
With a national network of over 500,000 mothers, Moms for America is one of the fastest growing movements of women in the country.
Well, the most dangerous place in all of nature is between a mama bear and her baby cub.
We are the change. No matter what, no matter where, And no matter how difficult the obstacles are that are facing us and our families, we will not give up and we will not give in.
So if not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Welcome to the Momland Revolution. Abby Johnson is the mom of 8, a pro-life advocate, speaker, author, and the host of the very cool podcast, Politely Rude. But Abby was not always on the pro-life side of the abortion debate. She tells her dramatic transformation story in her best-selling book and movie, Unplanned. And I just have to say, Abby, that when the film came out, we had a mom talk in... It was
We
in
sure
New
did,
York. It was
yeah.
in New York.
Yeah,
And there was a
Buffalo, New
point
York.
we had the woman who played you was our guest, and we had speakers all day long about various different topics. But when it got to that one, it moved me so much, and the film moved me so much. Your story was seen by a lot of people who left that day and said, I had no idea. I'm taking all of my liberal, wacky friends out to see Unplanned. But there was a point in the day where it just the idea of Unplanned overwhelmed me because I was unplanned. My daughter was unplanned. And
A lot of people were unplanned.
Yeah,
I was
and
unplanned
that
too,
was
right.
it. I just got to the point of the question. How many people in this room, there were a little over about 150 people in the room, mostly moms, said how many in this room were unplanned? Abby, a third of the room stood up.
Yeah.
I was blown away. And it was like, look at all the people that would not exist. And you put a name to that I think really changed the conversation about abortion.
Yeah.
You know, 50% of pregnancies in the United States are unplanned.
Yeah, I believe it.
And when I did not want to make Unplanned. I had already written the book. I was going around the country sharing my story. And when the directors reached out to me, and they reached out to me like really casually, just like through my personal email. And the email said, have you ever thought about turning your book into a major motion picture? And I was like, nope, absolutely not. I was like, I've been vulnerable enough, and I am not interested in seeing
See it come to
my
life.
greatest sins be broadcast on a screen. Like, I don't want all these people to see that. Like, I've done enough. I've told the story. You know, I don't want to see it. You know, I don't want to relive it. And my husband says, you know, Abby, I just think there's a lot of people that would go to a film that wouldn't read a book. And he goes, have you prayed about it? And I was like, oh gosh, shut up. You know, like I don't want to do it. But I knew, you know, God was clearly pointing me in that direction. And so they came down, we had a meeting. And I very reluctantly said yes. And my daughter, Grace, my oldest living child, went to the premiere in LA with us. And she was 13 at the time. When I found out I was pregnant at the clinic, at Planned Parenthood. And I was married, you know, at the time to Doug. And so I was nervous, but, you know, pumped. I was married and, you know, baby's good. Of course, every day that I worked at Planned Parenthood, my boss was trying to get me to have an abortion.
Oh, wow.
Up until 24 weeks, because at the time abortion was legal in Texas up until 24
What
weeks.
was their reasoning for that?
Well, they're trying to push abortion. They thought it would inhibit my career.
So you're showing up pregnant.
I'm pregnant.
And terminate a pregnancy.
Pregnancies.
You're making
people uncomfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just
Yeah.
doesn't
jive.
vibe.
Absolutely not.
Right, with Planned Parenthood. But even when I was getting married, my boss, who was a lesbian to the max, was like, don't get married. Don't get married. Do not get married. You need to get rid of Doug. Absolutely do not get married. He's going to hold you back. You know, they don't celebrate family. They don't celebrate babies. Okay.
Right.
So I found out I was pregnant at Planned Parenthood
I took my pregnancy test at Planned Parenthood. I was standing in the bathroom. I had my pregnancy test. My boss comes in, sees my pregnancy test is positive, and says, "We can take care of that for you." That scene was in Unplanned. I had not shown that to Grace.
Because that was Grace.
That was Grace.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything about it, right? That had not like
things
that
had
had
registered.
right. I had not thought anything about that. So as we're sitting in the movie, we're sitting in the premiere, that comes up, and I hear her crying, and so I'm giving her a hug, and she's still a little, tearful. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Mom, I just want to tell you that I'm so thankful." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, 13 years old, she said, "I didn't know that you had to negotiate for my life."
Oh my gosh.
And she watched me so carelessly murder her siblings. And there had to be some sort of recognition. There had to be some sort of questioning in her mind where she said, "Why me?
Wow.
Why did she choose me and not these other two?" And so, I talk to women all the time. I talk to women all around the world who have had abortions. And one of the questions I get all the time is, how do I tell my children that I've had an abortion? And, I say to them, the best thing you can do is be honest and don't hide the fact that they have a sibling. I've never hidden the fact that my children have siblings in heaven that they will one day be reunited with. They are a part of our family. We have, we have a family tree in our home, and they're represented on our family tree. I've never hidden that. I've never been quiet about it. I'm not ashamed of it, because God has, He's redeemed me of my past sin. So I'm not ashamed of it. And I don't want my children to think that I carry around shame from my past, because if they see me carry around shame from a past sin, then they will believe that they are not worthy of redemption.
Right.
Wow.
And so I have to model what redemption looks like.
Yeah.
If He can redeem even me, then He can redeem them too.
Oh, the glory
Right?
to God, yeah.
So I tell women all the time, don't hide your past from your children. Your children can learn from your past. They can grow from your past. And if you hide it from them, they will have many, many more questions. And they'll wonder. So just be honest.
Yeah, who does want to see their, like you said, most horrific situations on a movie screen? But I'll tell you, everyone at our church went to go see it, and they brought their families and their neighbors. We all used it as an outreach of education. And people that came didn't know that, but yet they walked out different.
There's something else that you've done that I think is very empowering, and that's kind of given a voice to those young girls and women who feel like they have to do whatever they're being told. And you're kind of out there saying, no, you don't, and giving them the courage to stand up for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's important that we as pro-lifers, kind of walk the talk, right? We can't just say, yeah, we're pro-life, don't have an abortion. I mean, we can do that. And a lot of people do that, right? But I don't want to be that type of person. I want to be a person that lives what I believe. I think that's really important. And I want to be an authentic person, because I have seen, I have seen parts of our movement that really is truly they're pro-birth, right? They just want you to get your baby here, and then, you know, it's like, well, your baby's here, like, done.
Yeah,
that's what we
that's done, we're
wanted,
good.
you know. And so when I hear people that oppose us saying you're just pro-birth, I'm like, you're right. There are people in our movement that are just pro-birth.
And I'll take this line from my sister Alveda King, because I love it, and I love that woman.
Oh my goodness, I
she
love
just
that woman.
goes from the womb to the tomb.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's a life we care about.
Yes.
And I mean, I can only speak for myself. I know the people who I serve, and they're not all babies, right? So, and yeah, to your point, we need to serve the entire life, the vulnerable populations, and not just the babies.
Yeah. And so, you know, when we were looking at, you know, how, of course, we have our ministry that serves abortion clinic workers, and then there were none. And we've served now about 750 abortion clinic workers. And of course, you know, I don't have, it's an interesting work, because I don't have cute little fat baby faces to show people to say, look what you saved. You know, I have like middle-aged women, you know, to say, look what you saved. You know, they're not necessarily saving physical lives, but they're literally saving people from a pathway to hell.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really like even more important. What are we trying to do? Like, are we trying to save physical lives or eternal lives? And to me, it's really about the eternal lives. But then we started Loveline, which is a crisis support and case management line. And I was like, look, I'm not just about getting the baby here, guys. We've got to, sure, let's get the baby here, but then let's provide support for the mom.
Yes.
And we're providing support for the mom.
What
not
Planned
just,
Parenthood should be doing.
Yes, not just diapers and wipes.
Right.
Like, let's get her into
they need
financial
parenting
coaching.
skills and how to balance a checkbook, and
How to
maybe
help your
you've got to
child
change a
regulate their
tire.
emotions.
I mean, it's
mentor them
life.
as
It's
mothers.
life
But to
skills
your
that
point,
they need.
all these people who have abortions or have these situations, I mean, I think we all know people who have these situations, they're scarred.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether they admit it or not, whether like they're hiding it under their protests, or they're actually scarred and they carry that weight with them, knowing they killed their child. They need help too.
All right. The experience that you had has literally changed the conversation. And I think we have the most pro-life generation, largely because of you.
Yeah.
So you should be proud of that film, because it's made a huge difference. And again, if you have not seen Unplanned, I encourage you to go see it. We're going to be right back with final thoughts on the Mom Pew.
For the moms of Moms for America out there, Cardio Miracle really truly helped me out personally, and I could see that. But it also helped my mom out, it helped my wife out, it helped my sister out, it helped my friends out. I've really seen the benefits, and this is a time for healing our bodies, our minds, and our souls. And Cardio Miracle has done that for me, and I think it also can do it for our moms. Head to our link, cardiomiracle.com/moms, for a discount and to get started today.
The common practice of our show is to bring in an extra chair and spread out a little bit. But this has been a weighty show, and our hearts are all very heavy, and I just wanted a big hug. So we're going to all kind of huddle together here as we close out the show.
Women support women.
We need it. If y'all need a hug out there, consider yourselves hugged and joining us. There are really great things that are happening out there with this conversation, and I do believe that we are winning the culture in this topic. And there are some websites I want to give you just so you can get more information and follow and help.
Yeah.
Find a way to help. Abby Johnson's website is abbyj.com. The Abortion Survivors Network is abortionsurvivors.org. And I highly encourage you to go to that website and read those stories and share them. If you're not talking to your kids about abortion, someone else is. MyBodyMyVoice.org. Yeah, that's the body that everybody wants to get rid of. They have a voice. MyBodyMyVoice.org. AbbyJ.com, abortionsurvivors.org. Ladies, this has been a great show. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about these. You got final thoughts?
I mean, I just want to echo what you said. I believe we are winning the culture war, and it starts in rooms like this, right? A handful of women who are courageous enough to have the conversation and listen, and then have further conversations, lead people to healing like you're doing, lead people to ways that they can be involved and be active. That's how we restore a culture of life, is one person, one family at a time before we move the needle outward. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think a lot of times people, they'll say, you know, to us, we go and speak places and people will say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't have the platform, you do. And I'm like, you don't need the platform.
The platform is wherever you're at.
That's right. I mean, you don't have to speak on a stage. You don't have to talk to hundreds of thousands of people like we do every year. That's not necessary. There's people in your family, in your book clubs, in your churches, in your circle of influence who need to hear a message of healing, who need to hear this, this message of accompaniment, who need to hear a message of hope. And so those small one-on-one conversations, and if you pray for them, God will bring them to you.
Amen.
But they need to hear that. And so it's really just about having those one-on-one heart-to-heart conversations with people. That is really what's changing our culture. And I mean, God is so good to forgive us and redeem us of our past, just the disgusting things we have done. I mean, sometimes I think back on my life and I think back to just my time in the abortion industry and I think, oh my gosh, how did I even do that? How was that even me? How did I even say those things, participate in those things? But then I sit on a set, with Melissa Ohden and who's like a dear friend. And I'm like, this friendship shouldn't exist.
Right. And the world would say that Abby and I shouldn't be friendly, right? That somehow we're enemies.
Like I was a perpetrator of abortion. Like I helped kill people like Melissa. Like this relationship shouldn't exist. She should not be someone who is friendly to me. Like she should not be someone who is giving me a hug when she sees me, right?
But God.
But that is who God is. That is the character of God. That he has given her a heart of godliness and forgiveness and mercy. And that he has, given me a heart of repentance. And that he has he saw fit to die on a cross for even me. For even that post-abortive woman, for even that woman who has had 5, 8, 10 abortions, that yes, like he even died on a cross for her. For that man who drove his wife, who drove his girlfriend to have an abortion, yes, he suffered and died for even him.
Amen.
And that is the message that people across this nation, that people across the world, they need to hear that message. If nothing else, it's not about politics. This movement that we are in, that we are a part of, guys, we are not going to win this culture by talking about, shoving laws and all this kind of stuff down people's throats. This is about a heart change because abortion is a sin issue.
Yeah.
And if it is a sin issue, it is only something that Jesus can overcome.
And they have to know that they can be forgiven.
Yes.
That, you were right. Yeah. That is the most important thing. And I think too many people will not come to the pro-life side and realize and have the courage to do that because they think
they don't even admit their sin.
Let
alone come to redemption.
Yeah, right. But they think they don't believe God. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. You are absolutely worthy enough, and you do have the ability to be forgiven.
Amen.
And for whoever is thinking, I can't sit down with a group of women and have this conversation. I mean, just let Abby and I be an encouragement to that. Yes. If Abby and I can have a friendship for going on 20 years, which is weird because we're not that old, seriously.
Exactly. We've been friends since we were 4.
So weird.
Right.
But if this is what Abby and I get to have in our lives, Man, what are other people missing out on?
Right.
Amen.
You two
You are so right.
are such an inspiration.
Yes.
You are.
On so many levels. Thank you so much.
And that
Divine
is the
friendships.
perfect way to end the show. Thank you for coming on. You not only are an inspiration, you've inspired everyone who's watching the show today.
Amen.
And made
So
us all
if you
cry.
would like to, if you'd like to see any shows that you may have missed, you can come to themomview.com. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, a show to suggest, a guest to suggest, please reach out to us. And of course, check us out on all socials at The Real Mom View.
Yes.
Like, share, subscribe.
All
That's it.
We'll see you next time on the couch on The Mom View.